Did you practice before you came here? You practice a lot for that? That's crazy. That looks horrible, my man. I never seen something so bad in my life. I think that my least favorite part is the whole thing.
For those who aren't familiar with the graffiti community, especially on the illegal side of things, it might come as a surprise to hear that graffiti artists never agree on anything. Whether it be if you should be doing tags, throws, or pieces, or where you should be painting, or if you're in a legit crew, graffiti artists never agree on anything, and it's not uncommon for writers and artists to treat each other pretty badly while upholding their individual beliefs about how graffiti should be done.
That looks horrible, my man.
And because of all that disagreement, there are only a few things that almost all graffiti artists agree are the worst sins you can commit in graffiti. So these are the top 5 biggest sins you can commit as a graffiti writer. Number 5, biting. For the total newbies out there, biting is when you copy another artist's style or lettering. Graffiti artists take years to develop their own unique style of lettering, and as a graffiti writer, your style almost is your identity. And because of that, biting is not tolerated. Biting is usually done by more inexperienced graffiti artists who haven't really learned the rules yet, and they either accidentally or intentionally take a little too much inspiration from another artist they like and end up copying their style. But this is one of the very worst things that you can possibly do as a newer or experienced graffiti artist, because especially in some more competitive areas and cities, the response from the copied artist or their crew can be even violent. So if you're developing your own style as a newer artist, the best advice I can give to you is keep experimenting. This is the advice I give all the time in our graffiti analyses that we do over on our Patreon page, and that's because that is the best way to find out what works for you, for yourself, and what doesn't. If you do want access to those exclusive graffiti analyses, having your name on the hit-off list for our tagging reviews, buff tests, and some more fun stuff like that, you can check out our Patreon page. It's $3 a month. It's the price of a coffee. You get access to everything over there. So if you want to be part of the Patreon crew over there, check out the Patreon page. Number 4, confusing street art with graffiti. Now that might sound a little weird on the surface, but graffiti artists hate street artists as a general rule. Now there's a variety of reasons for that. Some have historical context and there's some more modern day context to some of those reasons as well. But because it's such a complicated topic, we're going to be covering a whole video about why graffiti artists hate street artists so much. Feel free to subscribe so you can see that video and be notified when it comes out. But basically one of the main differences between graffiti and street art is that graffiti is letter based, and like I mentioned before, a lot of times your lettering and your style is your whole identity as a graffiti artist, and a lot of times graffiti artists just don't want to be mistaken for some of the weird shenanigans that street artists tend to get up to. Did that sound unbiased? I hope so. Number 3, blowing up a spot. Now this is something that every graffiti artist needs to know about. Blowing up a spot is what happens when some, usually again lesser experienced graffiti artists are painting in a train yard and they either leave empty cans behind or garbage, or they're super loud while painting, and essentially one way or another they alert people that graffiti is happening in that train yard. Now that's what transforms a train yard from being a safe junction for graffiti writers to get some work up into a heated spot. So it's those 1 or 2 dumber graffiti writers who bring heat to that spot and ruin it for everyone. So as much as graffiti artists don't agree on much, they pretty much all agree they don't want to be arrested trying to get their work done. So don't be the one person that ruins it for everyone. Number 2, tagging monuments. Whether it's a religious monument, a war monument, or graves, pretty much all graffiti artists know that the tags, throws, and pieces stay out of there. And it's always frustrating to see this on the news because A, that's terrible when that happens, but also B, a lot of times it gets reported as graffiti being done on whatever monument rather than mischief and vandalism done on these these monuments. In this instance especially, there's a massive difference between what graffiti is in terms of all the lettering and the style and the artistic elements of graffiti and what this vandalism is. They're two totally different things, and having it reported as graffiti to the general public taints the public's view of graffiti and gives them an inaccurate picture about what graffiti artists and graffiti writers are all about. And if you are a graffiti artist or writer and you do make the mistake of doing something like this, the backlash from the graffiti community alone will likely be enough to make you, if you don't quit writing altogether, will make you quit writing in those areas especially. Number one, the very biggest sin you can commit in graffiti is ratting out a fellow graffiti writer. And that goes doubly for ratting out a crew member. Even if you get caught by the police and they're asking you about information that you have about your biggest nemesis in graffiti, who you've had beef with for an entire decade, the expectation is that you don't give any information up.
Looks to be the outline of Nokia. N-O-K-I-A-R. Does that mean anything to yourself? No. Can you tell me anything about that word? No.
It's sort of like a code of honor, I guess. I don't know where I got that scenario, it just came out of my head, but actually I would love to hear what you guys would do in that scenario. Your nemesis, 10 years running, you've had beef, this guy's crossing you out, you get caught, the police are like, you know anything about this? What would you do? But if you want to know exactly how the police try to get you to rat out your fellow crew members when they do catch you, check out the video on screen right now. It's about the top 5 dumbest things graffiti writers do to get caught, and we cover how the police try and get you to rat your fellow writers out in that video there. Again, thank you to all the Patreons in the Patreon crew. I'll see you in that video soon. Till then, peace.